now that we know the difference between an inline and a block element, we can start talking about some more advanced things. And we're going to talk about alignment and the div quickly. So this is one you might want to code along with. This is kind of an important one. So we learned that a paragraph element is what type of element? Yeah, a block element. Good. So if I create a paragraph element, this is what I am left with. Now, I want to visualize this block. So I don't want to cut this and copy it and paste it into paint.net and draw it. I can actually visualize this block. So using the style attribute, I'm going to give this block element a border. So I can go border, a 1 pixel thick border that is solid. Whoops, don't need all caps. And let's just make it black. So this is a style that I can choose for my paragraph element, which is going to put a border around this element. And we know that a paragraph element is a block element. So we have the outline of our block. We can actually see this block, which is super helpful when we're designing a website. Let's talk about alignments. So now that I can visualize this block, let's say I wanted this text in the center. Well, there is a beautiful style we can choose. So you have to be careful here because I've got my border style, but I want to add a new style. And this one is going to be the text align style. And I can set the text align property to be center. And look what this does now. This puts the paragraph, this puts the text in the center of my block. So this property here allows you to align the content that is within your block. So because I just have some text within this block element, it is aligning that content in the center of my block. Kind of redundant, you could align it to the left, which is basically where we started. You could also align it to the right of your website. And you could do top and bottom, but the block is only as big as it needs to be. So right now, aligning it to the top or bottom would be pretty redundant as it's already aligned to the top and bottom. So a super useful property for quickly aligning things on your website, and you can do all types of things with it. Doesn't matter how big or small your website is, that text is going to stay in the middle. Easy. Gets a little complicated with images. So if I throw in one of these images I had from the previous video, here we have the image. Now the image we know is a inline element. It's not a block element. This property only works for block elements. So it's this incredibly useful property. You're telling me I can't use it for my image because my image is an inline element, and this only works for block elements. So that really sucks because I would have loved to be able to center my image by using this style. And if you don't believe me, you can always try it yourself. Nothing. It's getting mad at you because this is an inline element and this property only works for block elements. So it would be so nice if I could make an image into a block. Now, I can't redesign HTML. I can't reprogram how it functions. But what I can do is I can introduce a new block element. introducing the div element, which is a block element. So let me just erase this image here, just so we can focus on this div. What is a div? Well, a div, anytime you hear the word div, you might as well just think of a container. A container you put things inside. And the beautiful thing about the div, or this container, is that it is a block element. So it's going to span the entire website. Horizontally, I should say. So if we want to visualize this div, because it's an empty container right now, I've got nothing inside my container. So as you can see, I've got nothing on my website. But I learned a cool trick. I learned that I can look at the border of this div. So at least now I'll see an outline of the div on my website. And it's this very thin line because the div is only as big as it needs to be. And because I have nothing inside my div right now, it's very narrow because it's only going to take up as much space as it needs to. What if I throw some words inside this div? Inside the div. Well, the div is actually going to grow so that it can contain the things I need to put inside this div. So because I've put some words inside this div, it has become bigger so that it can fit these things that I need to go inside of this container, this div. And you can now better see this div block element, and you can see it spanning my website. Let's say that I don't want to put words into my div. Let's put something else into my div. Let's put an image inside my div. Can I do that? You can put whatever you want inside a div, doesn't matter. So if I put an image inside my div, the div has expanded. This container has increased in size just so that it can fit this image inside of it. I'm going to put my opening and closing div tags just like that so that I can better see what's inside my div. And maybe you can see where this is going. A div is a block element. Text-align is a block property. So now I can use this text-align property for my div. I can tell my div, hey, anything you have that's inside of you, anything that you're holding as a container, such as an image, align it with the center of the block. So now I can successfully center my image because it's placed inside a div, and because a div is a block element, I can use this lovely block property. So maybe a lot just to center an image, but divs are incredibly important. And pretty much in the future, it's almost impossible to make a decent looking website without the use of divs. What if I had two images in here? So what if I just copy and pasted a second image inside my div? What's it going to look like? Well, it's going to align both of those images in the center of the div. And you could put a third image in there. And same thing. All three images get horizontally aligned to the center of your website. Of course, you could line these to the left if you wanted to, which is kind of useless. Or you could push them all the way to the right side of your website. So believe it or not, this is kind of the easiest way to align things that aren't blocks. So inline elements. with this lovely div elements, which acts as a container.